As I look back at what God's been doing with our people in this church, I know for me at least, I don't ever remember a time where I've been more God dependent with pretty much everything when it comes to the ministry and vision of River Ridge Church. And actually, I've been really grateful for that. I hate to say that's the most dependent I've ever been, but that's what I'm going to remember the most. And honestly, that's what my prayer has been for you and for the church, that God would show us what He can do when a lot really isn't even up to us. And what God has done is amazing. We've seen a God who's still at work, who still hasn't stopped. He's still drawing people to Him through the ministry that He's doing here at River Ridge Church. We're seeing people come to know Jesus. We're seeing marriages. We're seeing families getting stronger. We even saw a bunch of people getting baptized through this whole thing. It's been unbelievable. God is changing stories in the middle of all this, and it's so amazing to see. I want you to hear one of those stories. This is my really good friend, Matt.
So my life before knowing Christ, I always thought that I was a Christian. If anyone asked me, I would absolutely say, yes, I'm a Christian. As an adult, life gets crazy. At least it did for me. I struggled a lot with anxiety, crippling anxiety. There was a period of time where it would consume me so much that I literally felt hopeless. And I thought that there was nothing anything could do, and I just thought that I had to tough it out for the rest of my life, because even though I thought about giving up, I knew that I had too many reasons not to. So quick version, I'm at jiu-jitsu on a Wednesday, still struggling with anxiety, and there was a guy who I never really talked to much, and he looked at me and was like, "Hey man, are you all right?" And in an instant I thought, do I give him the most common answer, like, "Yeah man, I'm doing all right, how are you?" Or do I tell him I'm struggling? So I decided, I was like, hey, I'm struggling with anxiety, and we started to talk about it, and it turns out he knew a lot about what I was going through. I'm like, man, this guy has a really good idea of what's been going on in my life. So he said some encouraging words, and then we left. Sunday morning I wake up still anxious as can be, and I told my fiance Hannah, we got to go to church. I want to go to church. She said, okay, let's get the kids ready. We were invited a few times by my friend Kenny to a church, but we couldn't get ready in time to make the service, so we decided to go to River Ridge. It said it was really close to the house. And I believe that God intervened, because whenever we got there, I heard a message on Jesus never said that. So the entire time he's talking, I'm in awe. He's like, Jesus never said that He won't give you more than you can handle, because He will. But He will never give you more than He can handle, because you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. And I'm looking at Andy, back to Hannah, Andy and Hannah, and I was certain that no one else was in the church that day. It felt like it was Hannah, me, Andy, and the Lord. That's just how it felt. He finished up by saying that he feels like somebody in there needs him to pray. So he's going to step off to the side of the stage. If you want me to pray for you, just come on up. And I'm already heading up there before he even gets off the stage. A couple of people that sat closer got there first. I was just standing up front, emotional and anxious mess. And I hear this voice. He's like, hey man, I'm glad to see you here. And I look over and it was John from jiu-jitsu. And I instantly just lost it. I was bawling my eyes out. I finally get up there and Andy asked me, what's going on? And I was crying so much that I could hardly tell him, what I was struggling with, but he could feel it. He took a deep breath and said, man, and then he just started praying for me. That day was the day that I decided I wanted to fully commit my life to Christ. For the first time, truly accept Him as my Lord and Savior. And I'm telling you, my life has not been the same since. That day wasn't only the day that I was saved, but the day that I started healing from my anxiety, depression, obsessive thoughts. I can now cast all my worries and anxieties on Him because He cares for me, and I know that now. I feel different when I have conversations with my friends. It's nothing really I did or even tried to do, but having a closer relationship with Christ just makes everything seem a little bit differently, and I love it. River Ridge has since been an amazing place where our family goes and is treated like family every time we walk in the door. God has given me a community, family, and a great, great friend in Andy, who also baptized us, married my wife and I. 2020 has been a rough year for most, but it has absolutely been the best year of my life so far, and I thank God for the way that He has intervened in my life.